Brian's out today, so I'm going to be just moderating here, and we'll give people a couple more minutes and get started. If you have any agenda items, anything that you want to bring up, feel free to add to the list. We don't actually have a huge list today, though it looks like it's already growing. And
we're recording.
Okay, perfect. I don't see the normal recording icon, so I do see the Fathom note taker.
Yep, it's here. It's doing its duty.
Does that also do transcripts and summaries?
I think not as well as the Google one.
Yeah.
The Google one also gives you sections that you can automatically post into YouTube, which is super nice. We should figure out how to get that because it makes it much easier when you just copy and paste the transcriptions.
Maybe when Talek gets here, we can use him as the scapegoat for all the Google things. I'm sure he knows like Google Meet, right?
Yeah.
Right. Somebody's got some background noise. Steven, I think. Okay, thank you. Okay, well, we ticked over to 9:05. Welcome everybody to this edition of the Community Sync. Ryan is out, so I'm going to go ahead and moderate, starting off with some of the highlights. And I think we had Faco and Edward fill in some as well, so I'll do the Java ones and then hand those off. So just to get started, going through a few of the items that I pulled out from since the last meeting. It's not everything, of course. You can go look at the Git log if you want to see all the commits. These are just ones that I called out and I thought would be interesting to highlight to the community. So first one is the extended header support. So this is one of the precursors to actually getting an implementation of the E tag for the freshness aware loading. So it's really great to see that go in. Thank you, Gabor. There's some improvements to Kafka Connect and how we handle like closing, coordinators, which is good to have. There were a number of issues related to that one that hopefully that closes out. There's some improvements from how we handle the deletion index. Thanks to Yuya for that. Apparently has a pretty big impact on memory consumption in certain cases. It's good to see that one go in. There is the final deprecation of the positional deletes, which is something that we introduced a long time ago, thinking that for CDC use cases, having the additional fields in the field that was being deleted would be helpful. Turns out we never implemented it. It isn't really used, and we can largely do it just with the positional deletes. So good to simplify those things going forward. The count null aggregation, so it's another push down aggregation. This is one that I think we also need to look into and just make sure that there aren't any issues in certain cases, because sometimes Parquet has some interesting ways of counting nulls. So it's good to see that go in, but we probably need to check and make sure that there aren't any edge cases in that particular aggregation push down. The next one is a fix for once you like drop partition source field IDs or partition IDs, still being able to read the metadata tables. That's probably been there for a long time. It's great to see a fix for that. There is an issue, I think this might be related to the 1.10.1 discussion, filtering on variant types and making sure that we are doing that correctly. I think that there might even be a edge case kind of correctness issue on that, which Amog will take us through later. The next one is manifest list encryption. If you don't recognize the number, that's quite an old PR. It's great to see that go in, but that is a 7000 series, and I think we're just about double that at this point. So it is wonderful to see that finally closed. I'm sure that there's probably still a little bit more work there, but I believe that that was the manifest list level encryption support. Thank you very much, Gabor. Let's see, the next one is, Flink support for row ID and last updated sequence number, closing out some more of the functionality for V3. So that's very good. And this next one is another one that we may want to consider for the 1.10.1 release, fixing an issue where when migrating tables, we're actually producing V2 metadata, but calling it V1, and that was causing some problems with readers. And the last one here was nested fields within optional structs can produce null. So this was also kind of a edge case thing where, if you have structs that have required fields, but the struct itself is optional, like making sure that that works correctly. So thank you very much, Dijon, I believe. So those are all the ones that I pulled out, and I will hand it over to Fako to do the next couple.
The last on the list also sounds something we might want to backport, I would say. So maybe look into that. Yeah, so also have some improvements on the Iceberg side. So big thing is that we have 0.10 out. Thanks everyone for jumping in there. It's great to see people actually using it, because we also got some bugs in already. It's also good to see. So the first one was a bit of a, so if you use the FSpec in file.io in a multi-threaded environment, then there was actually a caching issue, which actually would result in a shared worker pool. And if you use like a multi-threaded environment with the same worker pool, it would exhaust pretty quickly. So thanks Luke for fixing that. Big thanks to Kevin, who actually changed the CI to use Spark Connect. When I read the PR, I thought is it gonna work? But it turns out to work pretty well. I've been using it since a few days, and it also feels a bit faster, so it's also great, improving efficiency when we start developing. Thanks Vijan for adding support for adding files to a specific branch. So now I can also specify the branch and do something other than the main branch. And we had a bug, I think this was discovered as part of 0.10 release, where we actually do some prefix matching on the ADLS token. So thanks Tom for fixing that. Eduard, did you do the Go ones?
Yes, I can talk about the Go ones. So thanks Blue, and this is not Ryan Blue, so this is a different person. Thanks Blue for adding and implementing object store location provider in the Go client. DAO added the ability to clean up orphan files, so this is great to see. Tobias did a bunch of, I checked, there were actually a bunch of pull requests around table metadata, partition spec builders, validations, and a bunch of more improvements. So this is really great to see that this is taking some good shape. And thanks also DAO for extending the manifest to now be able to, I actually forgot what it's able to write or just read V3 support, but it's at least there's V3 support being added to manifests. And last but not least, thanks Badal for adding fan-out partition writers and rolling data writers. I'll pass it off to Fako since he was doing the other ones.
Sure. Yeah, so for Rust, we finally have the equality leads in there. So this is part 6 of the merge on read leads. So thanks Scott for being so persistent there and pushing everything through. Renji for doing a lot of the review work as well. We have the Avro manifest reader exposed in Iceberg core, and that way we can also use it in Iceberg. So we're actually experimenting and filling the gaps to see where we have things that are possible in Iceberg or not yet in the Iceberg Rust. So but it's the first great step to have this in already. We have the stillness spot now also in Iceberg Rust. Thanks Mike for working on that. And we have the 0.7 release going on. So thanks Sean for pimping the version there. It's really great to see like this high velocity cadence there. I think that that works really well. And thanks Christian for working on the feed-read metadata. This is still work in progress, but if you're interested in Iceberg Rust, I think it's also a good one to join on reviewing. It's a pretty big one, so yeah, more ice is always better in such a situation. And also on the C++ side, we have like a big milestone. We have the first release. So thanks everyone for jumping in there. Please give it a try if you're on C++. We have now the decimal memory representation in there as well. That's actually borrowed from Arrow and adapted to Iceberg. This way we don't have like a hard dependency, but yeah, we still have like a proper decimal support. Thanks Wang for adding a demo. Especially for this new project, it's always good to have like example code, and it's really important to get like new people up and running with like snippets and yeah, explain how the API works. Thanks Xiao for working on the schema selection and projection. That will enable like the first steps of doing a schema projection and speeding up the reads. And thanks Lee for reading tasks into a Arrow C stream API. So that will be like our first way of like interacting with the actual engines. So it's also really good to see. Back to you, Dan, on the releases.
Okay, well, I'm going to do the releases bottom up, since the first two, or the last two, depending on which way you think about it, are mostly just out for vote. So please go vote on the Go release and the Rust release. Test it out in your environment, build it, check licenses. We really appreciate the community eyes on those things. And I'm guessing we probably still have a couple days left open before those close. The main one to talk about is a potential patch release for 1.10.1. There are a couple of things that were called out in the discuss thread. I'll hand it over to Amog, and he kind of talk through what we found so far, and there may be a couple other ones that we want to pull in as well. Amog?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Dan. So yeah, I kicked off a email thread on a potential 1.10.1 release. So one of the issues that prompted this was incorrect filtering for variant. So for example, if some variant records are inserted and a query through Spark is run with a predicate on like a variant extract or variant get, I should say, we would not properly evaluate those filters and fail to surface records. So it's a correctness issue, and I think Drew has fixed that. So I think we just essentially just need to cherry pick that. But that's the main issue that prompted this. I know that there are a few other sorry, I'm not super prepared, but like there's one for this like required nested fields within optional structs can produce null. I think that's another fix that probably should go in, and I think Faco had a fix for basically making sure that we are correctly generating manifests with the right format version during table migration procedures like snapshot and basically anytime we want to like convert raw Parquet files into an Iceberg table. So those are the few fixes, but like has anyone else, after some testing around 1.10, like seen other issues they'd like to report?
There's one other one. I think you called out in the thread that there's an S3 file IO one that we're still kind of reining in the last little bit on making sure that we aren't eagerly closing the HTTP client. There's another one that brought up, I think, Alex, you saw this in the issues related to the remote signing, and that would be a good one to get in just because like there is, kind of a security angle to that. I don't know if you've looked at that or if anybody's taking a look at a fix. I made a comment on the issue, but Alex.
I saw your comment, and I will try your solution. I think it should work because I think the HTTP client is allowed to be created without base URIs, right? So the only problem is that we have two properties. There's the signer URI and the signer endpoint. These are sent separately, but I guess we just need to concatenate them together.
Yeah, but we do keep the actual properties, so I think we have all of that.
Oh, sure. I think we need to separate, definitely. Yeah.
But it would be a good one to include, and I think Christian is the one that brought that up, and I know that Lakekeeper, I believe, supports remote signing, so that's probably why he ran into it. I'm not sure that there's a whole lot of usage outside of that, but it is something
It's our beta tester for everything related to remote signer.
Yeah, and it's just so everybody understands the context of this. I think we linked the issue there. The issue is that if you have like multiple catalogs configured and you're doing remote signing against both of those catalogs, the first one that gets associated with the remote signing is what gets used as the base URL moving forward. And then the concern is that like if you are talking to the other catalog, you're actually sending your JWT or whatever credentials to the wrong catalog, and that could be intercepted or logged in some way that wouldn't be appropriate. So there is a little bit of a security angle there. You don't want to be sending off things to the wrong server. That's not good. So okay, anything else on the 1.10? Anything else that anybody wants to call out? Okay, well, it seems like we have enough, so we should probably start pulling together, a branch and backports, and we can figure out, both. We've identified a few things just that have gone in recently. Some of them have been around for a little while, so we can kind of determine like what makes sense to include in the 1.10 release or what to hold on to for the next 1.11 or whatever it ends up being. But I'm sure we will be looking for a release manager if anybody wants to volunteer if they haven't already on the dev list. That would be good. That said, we've had a lot of discussions about V4, and there have been a number of kind of side meetings and things like that. But just as a kind of a general community update, I think it would be helpful to kind of go through the proposals that are out there, just kind of like what the status is. We're not going to like go into detail on any of these, but each one of these we have existing proposals out there, and there have been multiple discussions on. So I'll kind of go through the people who have been closest to it. So the first one, I think, Amog, if you want to just kind of give a quick update about like, hey, where are we? What are kind of the outstanding questions? And then we can move on to the next two.
Yeah, sure. So for the single file commit adaptive metadata tree proposal, right now the few kind of open questions we're trying to work through. The first one I would say is like, can we and should we remove the partition tuple? How do we make sure things like equality matching still work? A part of that discussion is like, well, if we do, like how do we envision representing sort of partition values and expressions, like making sure that kind of generalizes for things like derived values, and like how that fits into the stat structure, which Edward will probably cover. So that's one area we're working through. The second area is around some handling, like things like, do we want to allow things like out of line metadata DVs? So to kind of set the context, like one of the ideas is in the V4 proposal is like we want to have this notion of manifest DVs that encode which position and leaf manifests are removed, and we're discussing if like that should only be inside like as a binary in the root manifest, or if it should be out of line for like high scale cases to reduce write amplification. But yeah, and the third one is, and I owe Stephen pass through this, but we're working through like how do we want to represent changes. Like one of the goals of the V4 proposal is to allow clients to just look at the root manifest and be able to figure out what changes, file level changes were made. So that's something we're working through, that basically going through every case like for deletes and rewrites and making sure that those all essentially can properly work. So yeah.
Okay, Edward, you want to take the next one?
Yep, I can give a short update on the column sets. So basically, we met a couple of weeks ago where we did a second pass over the proposal and open questions. And I updated the proposal based on that feedback back then. And the latest changes that I did is essentially we removed one stats type, which is column size, because we currently do not use it anywhere in any of the metrics evaluators, manifest evaluators anywhere. So that is probably going to be removed. And if you think we should keep it, please shout, because otherwise, like, we don't have any concrete use case right now. And also, Ryan suggested to add 2 more stats types for variable length types, such as string and byte buffers, which I reflected in the proposal. And yeah, other than that, we don't have any open questions. I did a minimal PR, which just brings in the minimum amount of classes that we need for the stat stuff. Everything else kind of depends on the v4 structure that we will need for the one file commits, and that is like a prerequisite, because this is where we define how the stats are going to be hooked into the manifest entries. But independent of that, like, we can get in once we agree on, like, hey, this is the proposal is fine, like, let's go with that. I already prepared the spec changes. I just haven't opened the PR yet. But like I said, there's a PR with the minimal changes. Russell and Peter already took a look at that, so thanks for that. And yeah, this is where we are right now.
So if anybody has other stats that they're interested in, now would be the time to kind of raise those and, make sure that we have a discussion about the utility of them and what we want to include in the stats spec, mostly because we have to assign IDs for these and how we allocate the offsets when we do kind of that in dynamic field ID translation here. So if you have stats, if there are things that, engines are currently not able to leverage, but we could track in stats, like, now is the time to have that discussion. So please raise those. The last item here, relative paths, we made some updates after the first couple discussions that we had around relative paths. There are still a few updates that need to be made to the doc, but I think we're largely getting closer to a solution there. It's just been kind of sitting for a little while, and we'll hold one more at least, just to validate all the changes and have kind of an open discussion about where we think relative paths will land. So, okay, well, those are the updates for the major initiatives. Oh, Talat is here. Sorry, Talat. I could have had to do that one too.
We are doing together. That's why it doesn't matter.
So, okay, so the next set of items is just the general discussion topics. I don't know if Peter is around or who put the file format API on.
As usual.
Okay.
As usual, I'm here. And as usual, I put the file format API here. This is the best place to get feedback. I've just jumped into one of the last suggestions. I think I will start bi-weekly thing, because it is very, very slow to get feedback around the topic, and it's very slow to moving forward. So anyone who is interested in, I'm planning to do it in Monday, starting next Monday, so I don't clash with the UDF discussions. And I would love to see anyone who is interested in the topic to participate, and this could help us moving forward faster. Just a quick status about the things. Ryan's last comment was a quite nice one about handling positional deletes. I was able to implement it, and I put it in the PR, so it is working, and there is a proof of concept implementation, which also shows that it is something usable. So basically, we have the format model specifically for writing positional deletes instead of row, internal row, and whatever. We have positional deletes, and we are writing out those. One thing I think we should start to thinking about separating out the API and the implementation, because first we need to finalize the API, and then we can discuss the implementation details, how to reach this one. But very hard to keep the implementation up to date with the continuous changing on the API, with the new suggestions and stuff. There are a few remaining API questions, and the most important one is the generic or non-generic write builder and read builder interfaces. So basically, previously, the write builder and read builder was a non-generic class. There wasn't any generic parameters for them. But after the discussions, there is one parameter for the schema, input and output schema, which is needed for variant sharding. So this could drive how the sharding is done for the variant type. And the input and output type, which could be nice to have in the interface, but we could get away with not having those there. I think these two together should mean that we need to have a generic class. At least this is my opinion, and I would love to hear the feedback from the community around that. This is an important question because if we decide to have a generic parameterized class on the API, that would mean that the implementation, we cannot reuse the current writer builders and read builder implementations. We need to create separate classes to be parameterized. So I would love to hear if you have anybody has thoughts around that.
And when you say that we can't reuse the current ones, that's the internal reader and writer builders?
The internal readers and writers are basically just an interface above the Parquet write builders and read builders. But no, we have another interface which is generic, parameterized generic. So we need to provide the parameters, and that's why we cannot reuse the classes themselves. We can create a new class and delegate the calls to the current implementation or do it in a different direction, but we need to create a different class for that. But on the other hand, we need the input schema and output schema. It would be very strange that you can provide whatever schema you want, but we only accept if it is struct type for Spark and row type for Flink, and otherwise we throw an exception. Okay, I leave it as it is. Please comment, and I think if there is, we can discuss it also on Monday. Yeah.
Just make sure that we invite the dev calendar just so that everybody can see it. Like we've had some that have not invited the dev calendar, and then we get out of sync. So
yeah, I will try to do that. I may ask for help because I have never done that, but yeah, that's the plan.
it is a little confusing because you get like this weird string that you have to invite, and then somebody who maintains the calendar, there's a number of us, like I think Kevin has access and I have access, like we have to accept it and then everybody can see it. So
okay, if Kevin is there, I will contact with him and we'll fix that.
Yeah, let's chat.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
One other interesting stuff is the method names. We have different method names around the different Parquet ORC Avro builders, and I collected it into a document to see what was previously and what is the planned one. I think it would be nice to look through after the plenty of changes and decide, okay, this is the way we want to go forward and see the consequences. So again, comment on that if you have time. And three smaller questions. Whether we want to have data write builder, equative write builder, position write builder as a classes or interfaces. I originally planned it as an interfaces, so we can do whatever implementation to want behind that. Steven suggested that we might to want them to be a classes. I don't have a very strong opinion on that. But I would like to get feedback there. Where should we put the classes, IO package or data package under IO? Again, I don't think that's very important, but if you have thoughts, please share. And there is one small thing again. Currently, the current implementation doesn't allow re-registering the same format model with the same file type and class type. It is forbidden, so we can prevent accidentally or maliciously updating the file format model, but this removes some flexibility from the system. So we might decide what to do with that. So these are the topics which I have, but feel free to add it to the agenda of the bi-weekly sync if you see anything else. And please notify Ryan as well. I'm very hard to get contact with him. So
Yeah, I'll make sure that he knows.
okay, cool.
Okay.
Thanks from my side. Any questions? I'm happy to answer.
Okay, so the next one was the signer credential issue, which we largely covered already, so we can skip that one. Talit, materialized view discussions.
I just start looking to materialize view. Looks like the last year we discussed. I sync up with this team for that also too. And I'm just going to I just want to ask that can we revamp that discussions and resolve the conflicts, then we can start implementing the materialized view, because looks like it's almost done. There's a few conflicts, the conflicts for the resolving the table on the client side or server side, kind of things, catalog side. Sorry for that. If everybody is okay, I want to schedule a meeting for that, then bring the peoples on the table.
Yeah, I know, Stephen, you were interested in this as well, and trying to see if we can, find some sort of path forward here. The materialized view discussion has been going on for a very, very long time, and we've taken a number of different paths, but I do think we are honing in on a solution that everybody kind of generally agrees with. There were kind of some edge cases about like, how do we do resolution and identifiers? I think we're coming to consensus on that, but it would be good, like if we want to move this forward, to get a discussion set up specifically on materialized views so we can go through each of those issues. And Stephen, I don't know, is there a current doc that captures like what the actual design is for the materialized views?
Yeah, I think the PR from Jan probably is the best we had. The spec PR is probably the one we should look at. Yeah, I can set up I think the good suggestion, I can set up a dedicated meeting for that so that we can just,
we probably just need just a one-off to like spend an hour focusing on like, hey, are there outstanding questions? Do we have any other issues? And then we can raise it on the dev list, because I do think we've largely agreed on what it should look like. But
yeah, I think Jan's PR reflected what we have discussed over last year. I think he had updated that PR based on recent feedback. And I also read the 2 open questions. We can discuss those in the meeting. So that's something that we can use. I also reached out to Walla and on those open questions, but we can also try to see if Walla can join and see if he still have concerns on the table identifier resolution. Yeah, so we can maybe discuss all this in that meeting.
I also reached out to Jan, by the way, on the side topic. Like he said that he's done, he's just waiting the approval. I don't know, maybe we should include Jan also too.
Oh yeah, include Jan. I think that he thinks he's captured what the current status is of like what the spec changes should be. We need to just like make sure that everybody agrees on that, and I think that there's been some disagreement up to this point, so we just need to validate that we've got everything covered, right?
Yeah, let me set up on the dev calendar also.
Thank you.
Okay, so if anybody's interested in materialized views, make sure that you join and participate in that discussion. The next one, I don't know who put this one on here, deprecating Spark 3.4.
Oh, I did. I put that one. Just wanted to bring it up because we had a couple of discussions on the dev list. I think the decision right now is whether or not we want to do it immediately or gradually deprecate it first and then do it on the release after. I don't know if anyone has a strong opinion on either. I think the important thing to know, if we're doing a backport fix for 1.10.1, 3.4 is still supported in 1.10. So let's make sure we backport stuff for 3.4 in that branch as well. Other than that, yeah, does anyone have any opinion on whether we should deprecate now or I guess the idea is deprecate in 1.11 or remove completely in 1.11. Right?
I mean, I would vote for deprecating right now with 1.10 because we just released 1.10, and then we can remove it with 111.
Well, we can't. I mean, we can't deprecate with 110 because that's already gone out, right? So
The deprecation is just an update on the
Yeah,
website.
yeah, it's a doc update.
Yeah.
But at least we should give heads up, right? If we should mark as a deprecated, at least 111 should still have that as a deprecated and maybe next version.
I think when you grab the terminology, the deprecated means that the document which is not versioned. Yeah, the site is not versioned. When we say deprecated, it just means, hey, there's a status, and we can say,
Yep.
Yeah,
maybe we'll update document and say, hey, this is the deprecated since 1.10. From 1. Up to 1.10, this will not be any change to the 3.4, and then 1.11 we can just remove it.
what did we do last time for the 3.3?
We waited one release. I think we waited one release.
We should, yeah, people are planning that, right? We are pushing them to upgrade.
I'm just checking to see because Anton deprecated the other one, and
I think it was last one. It was one. We waited one release and then we deprecated afterward. That's why that was the original plan. And then you're like, okay, should we fast forward that a little?
I think the problem though is, yeah, I think the issue is like we don't want to be too much on the treadmill of like having to backport features to older versions. So that's like the main thing I think we should try.
I think the side effect of this decision is for 1.11, do we want to still take on the responsibility of backporting 3.4? Right, because marking it deprecated means for 1.11 we'll stop backporting. Right?
we'll stop backporting, but that means that we would actually remove it in the 111 release. Like there wouldn't be the binaries.
We can remove it afterwards. I think. I mean, I think the contention is, should we still follow up and continuously to support this, right? If we mark it as deprecated now, we don't have to backport anything for 1.11.
Yeah.
And
The other thing is that Spark 4.1 preview version is already about to be released, so it's likely that we might have 4.1 support in 1.11, and then we have 4 Spark versions.
Yeah. So I guess I don't know. I guess I'm changing my mind. I think it's probably okay to update the docs and mark it deprecated, but I would encourage people to follow up on the dev list and just either +1 it or raise an objection, especially if you have some sort of dependency on 3.4, we're waiting for something that you think should be backported, because that likely means that, especially if there is a release, which will likely, possibly happen before the 111, there may not be 3.4 binaries then in the 111 release.
And also for Spark change, do we always backport the 4.0 to both 3.4 and 3.5? I thought it's up to the author.
It's not. I think anything that can easily be backported or makes sense to backport, like variant and some of the other things, I think that those are not, because they're not supported in versions prior to Spark 4. So it's not like we're doing everything. It is kind of piecemeal. Yeah. But ideally, if there is like a real fix, it should be backported if it can be backported, right? We don't want to get completely.
The problem is also when we just backport piece by piece, you port certain pieces back and not others. That over time makes it more difficult to port critical fixes back, because all of a sudden, testing isn't aligned or other pieces of the code aren't aligned anymore. So that makes it just more difficult to backport this.
Yeah, I think the major thing is like a bug fix or a security issue. We have to backport if we claim that it's supported.
Yeah, I think the general consensus is yes, let's move forward. I did find a couple of PR commits that are backported. I can just reach out to those people and say, hey, are you aware that we're doing this? Just in case they are actively maintaining 3.4 in the community.
Okay, let's follow up on the dev list, and if anybody has any concerns, let's make sure that you voice them, and we raise visibility of this, because this is kind of I don't know. It would have been ideal if we had the discussion prior to the 1.10, and we could have kind of done both of those at the same time. But
yeah, lesson learned.
okay, for the last item we have on here, there's been a discussion going on about should we remove the blogs. We talked about this, I believe, last time or the time before. The blog page has not been well curated. It is not representative of all the content that's going on out there, and I think the proposal is to remove the blog page and just let people post their blogs where they want to post them, and not try and curate or have kind of an officially sanctioned set of linked blogs. Does anybody want to add to this? I think Kevin, were you the one driving this, or who brought this up?
I was hoping Russell to do this. I just wanted to bring it up just to get general opinions from everyone, and also I think Russell's trying to see if there's a middle ground first to like add a no follow and no index or something like that. So it's like a two-step process for removal. Make it so that the search engines don't index it. I think he was playing around with it. Not sure whether or not he got to that yet. But I just wanted to bring this topic up just to see if there are any other opinions, because
I feel that's complicated. Like, if we want to remove it, we should probably just remove it.
I think it was just
I do want to like say that like we don't want to be like shutting down people's avenues to like show or highlight work that they've been doing, or post blog posts. And one of the things that we mentioned, I think back a few weeks ago, was that some of the Slack channels, like announcements, oftentimes people like start posting things there because they just want to like get visibility to it. What we had proposed is possibly adding a blogs Slack channel, and then doing like one announcement to let people know that we were creating it, so that we have a place for people who are interested in blogs and want to subscribe, that they can go there, and it isn't just like people posting in like every channel, general dev and announcements for blogs. But like there is a place for people to get some attention. We want to highlight community work and discussion and activity that's going on, but we also don't want to be responsible for curating that. I don't know how people feel about that. Thoughts on like blog channel versus like letting people post in announcements, like any comments?
So Kevin, for your question on the search indexing, I thought I agree with Ryan's response, because we are not the source of truth.
Yeah. I think he was just trying to see if that can be a middle ground, but I think it might be more trouble than it's worth. And right now I'm in favor of just removing it. And I think we do have a middle ground. I think Alex was mentioning that maybe there should just be like a community curated list or blog or collection somewhere, right? That I think the main issue here is on the official Iceberg Apache site, plus you have to approve via PRs through all of the links, and we don't want curated, like we don't want to be curating this, right? Plus we want a official blog post eventually, or a blog site eventually. So I just wanted to bring this up to see if anyone else has opinions on this, but I'm all in favor of like creating a blogs Slack channel, or maybe even like a community Slack channel. I don't know how wild you want to do this, but yeah, I think anything that's like getting people away from posting on announcements, right? That about their like contribution, community contribution, blog posts, whatever. I think that's a great idea.
Couple years ago, we were using the Planet. They called the Planet. I couldn't find the project. Basically, just retrieve the RSS feeds and put a specific page. It's just feed. Maybe we can do other things for the Twitter, like we can open an account, and whoever mentioned the handle, we can retweet it.
I think like the issue is that like if we do anything that is coming directly from the site, then it's kind of like an officially sanctioned one, right? So at some level we are curating content there. And so I think what we want to do is get out of the business of like promoting or curating specific content over other content. You know, there has been discussion, like Kevin mentioned, of at some point in the future potentially having some official blog. That still needs to be discussed and decided on, but the problem here is like it's a really unbalanced view of like the content that's out there, and it's also not necessarily used a whole lot. So it's kind of the worst of all worlds, where we're not getting representative, you know, content, and we're doing work with PRs and various other things to actually manage and maintain it. So I think we want to get out of that business as much as possible.
Yeah, I agree with that. We should have the official blog.
Yeah.
But I was trying to find a solution.
Yeah, it's just an RSS feed is just like a lighter weight of version of what we're already doing. And it's also like somewhat transient too, because like once that's gone, you know, it's not as searchable. It's not as, you know, usable for somebody who's like coming in and just wanting to peruse the content. So, yeah, I think just initially getting rid of the blogs page, and then if we do decide to set up an official blog, we're kind of like unencumbered from what's already there from the existing blogs.
Yeah, we can discuss what alternatives we can do. I think it's more from a community standpoint, not from like a project level PMC standpoint. I think Alex has some ideas already, so we can catch up with them afterwards. Yeah, let's. I'll catch up with Russell. If he's busy, I can take this over from him.
Yeah, and we actually want, you know, avenues for people to promote their content and things like that. It's just it's kind of gotten to a scale and scope at this point that it's probably not best to have it in the project. So
that list is like 100 something sections on either blogs or site. It's really nice to see, you know, over the years all the content. But yeah, I think it would be best to move it elsewhere. Dan, I think you're one of the Slack admins. So
yeah, we've got a number of them. So you know, if we want to do that, we can follow up on the thread about like, do we want to include a blogs or community or something, you know, channel. I'm a little concerned about community because like that can easily devolve into like all sorts of stuff, and having something that people can kind of subscribe to and know that like, hey, I'll get notifications when people want to promote a blog. That might be more targeted than having something general that, you know, people may post other stuff and then we argue about, is that community content or not? Like that's
no, I saw your face when I mentioned community. I agree. I think blogs, we can go with blogs first, and then we'll see how that goes.
The whole site is for the community. So
yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, that's the last of our agenda items. Unless anybody has anything last minute here, we can all get 10 minutes back, which I always like. Okay, no takers.
Cool, thanks.
Thank you very much. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.